but there's not like
Yeah.
this big experience that's like, oh, this is the catapult or this is what's going to drive this album. So I've been excited to be like, okay, how do you write from like a joyous place? How do you write from a place of love and not just pain? And so it's been a new experience that's been a little scary, but it's been exciting as well to kind of figure it out.
Between the Grooves is hosted by James Curtis, music director and morning man in the Greater Toronto Area on Joy Radio, and Aisha Woods, Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter, and musician. Together, they talk with artists and industry insiders to discover our connection between music and faith. You can connect with us on Facebook or X at Between Grooves and on Instagram at Between Grooves Pod. Now, here's James and Aisha.
What's happening, family? This is Aisha Woods with James Curtis on Between the Grooves, episode 286.
What a great episode this is going to be.
Who are we talking to today?
Well, it's maybe you can guess. This individual's had hit songs, even getting some Spanish versions into Latin America. She's been juggling. Chica. That's right, juggling the music career. She's a mom, and she's been around for quite a while. I don't know. Longevity, I guess, is a great word to use as far as her career is concerned.
Yes, for sure. And she still looks fabulous, which is awesome. Let's get into it with Blanca.
Good morning.
You guys doing good?
We're doing good. You've got James, and I don't know if you're familiar with my co-host. Her name is Aisha Woods.
Oh, hi, Aisha.
It's been a minute. Good gracious.
It's been a minute. Oh, it's been so many years.
I was going to say, it's been more than a minute. It's been a couple 100,000 minutes.
Blanca, the last time we chatted on Between the Grooves, it was early 2020. We talked about how kids can change priorities. We talked about your experience in Group 1 Crew, the transition as a solo artist, label pressures, and a bunch of other stuff. And that was all before the pandemic. So everything's kind of changed again, hasn't it?
It really has. Life is crazy. I feel like it's crazy how right now the pandemic feels like a blip in the system. I don't know. Like, we went through that. Like, what happened? What was
and how
that
did we go through that? Because it was a couple of years, right?
Yes.
The thing I'll say, though, is every time I see you post on social media, you're always smiling.
Thank you.
And sometimes I'm thinking to myself, why? Because I don't feel like smiling a lot of times.
I feel like I would say I'm learning that my joy is my secret weapon.
There you go.
So,
there you go.
I feel like I could be, what do they call them? Like when it's like when you're too optimistic. But I could, a toxic optimist. But I just have learned that gratefulness and joy and kind of seeing the hope in situations is what has really carried me through a lot of difficulties in my life. So I thank God for that trait, because I know it's not something that comes easy for everyone, but I feel like I'm just like a happy person. I like to be around people and I like to have fun and be silly, and so it keeps me youthful, it keeps me lighthearted, and has helped for sure.
I heard that. You're in good company, because that's me all day, every day. And I laugh a lot. And that's another secret weapon. These days, are you indie or are you connected with a label?
I am with a label. I am with Curb, which is Word, Curb. They're kind of like, they've been bought, Word got bought out by Curb. And so it's crazy, because when I got signed in Group 1 Crew, we got signed to Word, or Fervent, which was like a part of Word.
Right.
And I'm still there. It's been over,
That's wild.
I don't know how many years. It's like 15 years or something that I've been with the same crew. But they're great people and have been very supportive of my journey, even my personal journey. That counts a lot for me. And when I wait things out, it's like they care about my son. They care about, make sure that I'm good and I'm feeling my best. So they've been a great team to work with.
That's awesome. You said your son, how many kids do you have? Do you just have one boy?
I just have one boy, and he is
All right.
10 years old.
Oh,
Like
gotcha.
I entered the double digits.
Now, is he the 10-year-old that is proud of his mom as an artist, or a little embarrassed? Because when my kids, as they get, originally when they were young, I work in radio, I do the morning show, and it's like, oh, it's cool, my dad's famous, even though I'm not. But as they got older, it's just like they really don't have as much to do with me and my career,
Yeah.
Still, I think at 10, I don't know how most 10-year-olds are, but he still has like a little bit of his innocence, and like he's a little oblivious. Like, what is it that you do, Mom? Like, I'm kind of putting the pieces together, and I like my mom's a singer, but
Yeah.
so it's still, he's not embarrassed yet, but I did ask him that question, like when it comes to like my silliness or things like that. We were hanging out with family, and they made a comment about one of their kids being embarrassed. And I said, London, do you get embarrassed of me? And he's like, well, sometimes. So that was the first time I ever heard him be like, oh, there's times when you do silly things that embarrass me. I think he's approaching that age now.
Yeah, that weird age.
I could see as he gets older that, you'll be doing one of your typical Insta posts or whatever with you dancing and stuff, and he'll go, Mom.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I could see that for sure.
I post every once in a while on my socials, and my kids are on Instagram. They're not on Facebook. They're on TikTok and a bunch of other stuff as well. But if I post on Instagram, I'll bug my daughter. She's 19. I'll bug her and say, so how come you haven't liked my picture yet? And she won't. She won't like my picture because I don't know if she just doesn't want to be associated with me or something. My son is a little bit more tolerant. He'll do it just to appease me. But she's very selective. Yeah.
And how old is your son?
He's 22. He's smart, obviously.
I think there's like an era, right, where they like don't want anything to do with you. I've heard there's like the teen years can be a little bit traumatic for a parent, but then they come back and they start loving you again.
Yeah.
Supposedly, my boy is. We've got 4 of them, Blanca. 4
boys.
Yeah, can you imagine?
And one of them is, we've got an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And my 11-year-old he's at that wonky stage where I just want to grip him up some days. I'm like,
wring his neck.
Yeah. Is my boy, and I've heard a lot lately, Aisha, it'll be a few years for this weird stage, and just like you said, he'll come back. But I'm like,
but you got to go through 4 of them.
And the mercy. Oh my gosh! Yeah, that's what my sister told me too the other day. She was like, "Yeah, you got it."
And then you've got the older one, right? You've got the 50-year-old one.
Right. My big boy, my first boy.
Yeah, you got to deal with him too. So,
thankfully,
man, you are outnumbered.
Yeah. Queen of my castle, though.
That's good. Yep.
So can you?
So are you writing?
Sorry, go ahead, Aisha.
No, I was
Am I
going to ask. Are you writing? Yeah.
Yeah. So I came out with my last album, The Heartbreak and the Healing, that came out last September, in 2022, and then we released a deluxe version of the album with just a few additional tracks and remix, and that came out this September in 2023. Gotcha. So I'm currently just getting into the process of writing again, and we've done so far 2 weeks of writing. So I spread it out. Like I'll go to Nashville or LA for a week's time and try to get in as much as I can while I'm there. But it's been exciting because it's like, this is one of my favorite processes as an artist is
Sure.
being creative and just figuring out what is it that this album is going to carry. I feel like a lot of my songs come from my own personal journey and
Yeah.
experiences. And I've been sharing this lately. It's like with the Heartbreak and the Healing or Shattered, my album before that, like I went through these really traumatic experiences from, losing my parents. And then my latest album was about going through a divorce. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like come out of like a lot of difficult things, but
Some hard places.
this is the first time that I'm kind of like, all right, let's see, what do I write about now? Like things feel a little bit more, not that there's not hardships, because there's always things, like I'm learning about myself. I'm trying to find my voice. It's like all these things are still challenges, but there's not like this big experience that's like, oh, this is the catapult, or this is what's going to drive this album. So I've been excited to be like, okay, how do you write from like a joyous place? How do you write from a place of love and not just pain? And so it's been a new experience that's been a little scary, but it's been exciting as well to kind of figure it out.
I can understand how you would enjoy the creative writing process, but if I were in your shoes, I'd be looking at or anticipating the recording stage, seeing that whole vision unfold. I mean, to me, that would be, hey, this is what I envisioned. This is what I, saw when I was writing this stuff.
That's kind of are you a journey person or a destination person? Yeah.
I think the beautiful, like, I remember on the last album, I wrote some of it during the pandemic, and I have a song called The Healing, and I literally did a session over Zoom with a producer, and they sent me a track, and I wrote it. I remember where I was in my house, where I was like writing the melodies and sending them like sending it through email or text, like, hey, this is an idea. And then we kind of like formulated the song through the pandemic, but never had a chance to actually record it. Then I went after the pandemic to LA, and I got to record the song. And while I was there, I told them, man, how awesome would it be to get someone like Dante Bowe or someone from Mav City? Like, they've walked me through this journey of my divorce. And I don't know, it's just like throwing it out in the air, and like to see how God kind of formulated everything. And I was able to have Dante on the song. And I say all this to say, the moment we recorded the music video, I stood in this room, and it was like playing a movie in my head from like that beginning point of, I remember when this was just an idea in my voice notes. And here I am on set with all these people supporting this song, and Dante's here. All came together. It's like, those are the moments that feel so beautiful to me, to see, like you're saying, the idea, the seed, and where it started, and kind of how it grew and unfolded into what it becomes.
Did you picture the whole collaboration with Dante Bowe? Because I mean, your voices together are phenomenal. The combination is incredible.
Yeah, like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, when I was in the studio, I pulled up videos of Dante, like with the producer, and just like, hey, this is this guy. Like, I don't know him personally. I've done a few videos.
Sorry, Aisha trying to take a crack at it there.
Yeah, I was like, Dante, is that you? But it's so cool just to see like his voice, even Chandler, like there's like key people that I felt like in the season of hardship that I walked through were like key people that helped me through that process, through their songs and the music that they were creating. So it was like a full circle moment that he said yes. I reached out to him on Instagram, like DM'd him and like, hey, I have this song. Crazy. I don't know if you're interested. Yeah. So it's like, it was all kind of just like flying by the seat of my pants. And he was like, yeah. And then he never responded again. Like, he said yes, that he would be down for a collab, but I sent him the song. I was like writing, and I never heard back. And then I was at the Dove Awards that year, and I was hosting the red carpet. And I saw Dante there. Gotcha. And on camera, he said, "Look out for our song coming out next year. We're doing a song together for Blanca's album." I was like, "I guess
bananas.
this is official."
Oh, wow. Kind of nice for you to find out that way, eh?
Right?
Yeah,
Just like that.
right. I guess it's happening.
That's awesome. That's actually quite nice.
Yeah, it is. That's pretty cool. Now, you're talking about Christian radio, right? I've got a question to ask you because you know Christian radio, and you know there are particular things, nuances and sounds and
Yeah.
vocal tricks, if you were. How have you mapped the sound for Christian radio?
Man, I feel like I've been doing this for so many years and I'm still trying to figure this out, but
Yeah.
I would say there is a specific formula or sound that comes with CCM or Christian radio. And for many years, I think the most challenging thing in my career has been, here's this girl, this Latina from Puerto Rico. She is a little spicy, has a little bit too much, vibrato in her voice or soul, and which I feel like you could relate to this, Aisha. But I think for so long, it was like, how do we fit her in this mold of what we know works? And I feel like I got lost in that journey because I was like, I have to change these parts of me that kind of are niche or make me who I am don't fit. And so I have to learn how to change them or water them down or sound like ABC. And I think when I went through my divorce, strangely enough, it's like through that very hard moment in my life, I think I started to question everything. I'm like, okay, who am I? What defines me? What do I want to do in life? I'm kind of at this pivotal state, and I really want to embrace these things that I've pushed down for so long. And so I feel like when I did that and I started actually embracing the parts of me that made me who I am, it actually clicked for radio and it clicked for fans. And I feel like this has been my most successful season as a solo artist because I didn't follow the formula. And there's always key things. Like, I know I can't just go off the cuff and make some song that's, too left field, but it's just like following kind of a little bit of the roadmap and saying, but I'm going to give it this twist. And it's worked so far. Let's see how it continues to work. But so far, so good. I
think a lot of it is the production element, though. And you've got that Christian pop sound. Forget even the term Christian. You've got that pop sound that just that resonates with what radio looks for in a song. I'm the morning show host at Joy Radio in Toronto, and I want songs that are up-tempo and, get people awake in the morning, right? Versus, some of the slower songs, and there's nothing wrong with them. But,
right.
If it's got that upbeat, sound that you have, I think that attracts radio and attracts the listeners that listen to radio.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? It's even deeper. Like, can I just say?
Okay, so that was superficial. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
No.
Okay.
I'm saying.
She's just adding.
Okay. To add on to that, to append. Yeah.
Right. Here's the thing. Blanca can blow, right? She can blow. She can go.
Yeah.
And the formula for CCM radio is not so much vibrato or not a ton of runs vocally, not ridiculously dialed in bass, certain drum sounds. There are just little things that make or break you. And there are very few artists that have done it and done it so well, you know? Like I think about Natalie Grant. Whew.
Yeah.
She's mastered that thing, and she can go. You know, so Blanca, kudos to you, glory to God. It's admirable, and I just think it's a wonderful thing.
I am so inspired by women like Natalie. I'm like, they've become like legendary, I would say, in our space. But to be able to do it for so many years and just, I don't know, they just carry something special. So to even be mentioned in the same category, I'm like, hey, I ain't mad at that.
I think part of the reason for Natalie and also yourself is you do it so effortlessly, right? I mean, it doesn't seem like you're working. You're just having fun and singing, and it's very professional. It comes out the right way every time.
And smiling along the way.
And smiling, yeah.
That's good stuff.
You know who else? If you're talking about artists who have that ability, Torrin Wells, I think, is incredible. The amount of even different genres that he can. There was one time on the radio we must have been playing at least 2 or 3 different hit songs from him at the same time. They were all charting on different charts.
That is unheard of.
I know.
Right,
and there's not a lot of artists that could do that sort of thing.
Right.
You know, in fact, I'm thinking Torrin Wells. Who else has done that? Maybe.
I feel like there's like bigger artists, you know, like
a Toby Mac or something like that.
Like a Toby or Brandon Lake. You know, they can be on like 5 songs at once. And
Sure. And
sure.
Especially when you consider the gospel category and the CCM type sound. Yeah, they could, you know, or collaborations. I think, you know what? Thinking out loud here's a great collaboration. This is something that you guys should consider. How about Blanca and Aisha?
Let's go. We got a studio right in Central Florida. I'm just saying.
You're on to something.
I want credit for that idea, though.
All right.
I'll participate in the songwriting process just so I can have my name on there.
A third for a word.
He's already planning this out.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I don't get any of that stuff. So tell us about this new, I guess, this process and this period of your life now when you're writing again, and when's it gonna come to the stage of actually recording?
Well, the cool thing about how I've been doing music lately is we'll write songs with I have like a team now that I really love, and so we'll get into the studio and write the songs, get the ideas flowing, try to finish the song, and then before the week is done, we basically demo it out, but in a way that it's like the final, like we can get all the BGPs, and if there's anything that we have to retrack, we can do that, but for the most part, we have a lot of the main piece of the song finished, and then we add production and things like that. So I'm already, like, I would say I have about 5 songs right now that I'm really happy with how they've turned out, and hoping that by next year, maybe early next year, a song will, you know, like a first single would come out, and but for sure by summer, you'll be hearing some new music.
And what about an album?
Good
like,
stuff.
is the album, is that still a thing? I mean, I know a lot of artists are just doing singles these days because
songs.
Yeah, I think for my process, it's kind of like throw out singles, but they all make the album, and then the album comes out maybe, you know, fall next year or something. But in the meantime, you're giving people leaving a little trail. So it's like a song,
for sure.
A song there, and it all makes up the album in the end.
Sure. So you had, I mean, say 12 songs on an album, 5 have already been released as singles, and then launch the album, and here's the title track or something like that.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's nice. I, you know, from a radio perspective, I like the singles. I don't like waiting for an album. I like when the singles get released, And if it gets put onto an album after the fact, it's great because everybody, it's brand recognition. You know, people recognize the songs,
sure.
they recognize the style and the and whatever else with the music.
I'm grateful that record labels and things are starting to take on the more single mentality. Because at first it was kind of like, you know, with radio and things like that, you want to work a song for a certain amount of months, and that's all understandable. Right. But I feel like the culture now, it's like people want more content. They want more songs. They want to hear things sooner. And it's like to wait 6 months before another song is released is kind of like a little bit too long. Or like to wait for a whole album to, you know, people aren't really listening through every song, but if you release them little by little, it's like they'll take the time to listen.
I think sometimes, though, labels can get a little too confusing where they are, you know, you might release a single to radio and then 2 weeks later you're releasing a single to the streaming platforms. And then to me, that gets a little confusing with all the songs that are out there within a six week period. It gets a little confusing.
Yeah, an overload of content, you're saying?
Yeah, almost an overload. And not to say anything bad about the songs, they're all great songs. Maybe it's just because everybody consumes stuff so quickly now. And the attention span, the attention span is smaller than it used to be. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Maybe that's what it is.
These kids.
I know.
It's hard. They just want content.
Hard. It's tough. Yeah, it's true.
So you got a bunch of songs that have already been recorded, album perhaps later next year. And are you doing the whole videos with all of that as well? I mean, that's some artists don't bother putting together music videos. They'll just have some thing online where it's just a lyric video or something like that. But you're going to go ahead with the videos too?
We do a mix of both. I think for singles, we try to do a music video for each of the singles, but not for every song. Just kind of like maybe 3 or so that we really feel passionate about. And then the rest could be like more of a performance videos of like something a little more simple for like social media or like to get clips and, or lyric videos, things that are still visually appealing, but not a full music video, you know, done to the extreme.
Right. And what about new collaborations? Is there a few that you've been working with for this as well?
I have 0 collaborations so far.
Oh, okay.
But
Maybe
that's always a fun part too.
Maybe you'll find out at the next Dove Awards, right? Somebody will walk down the carpet and say, "Hey, we got a song releasing next year. Surprise!"
That would be hilarious. I'm into it. Let's see.
And you've been doing a lot of Spanish and Portuguese stuff too, haven't you?
I've only done 1 Portuguese song, but I have been doing a lot of Spanish stuff. I feel like that was part of what I was talking about earlier, of just like embracing certain things, and like embracing my roots, embracing my heritage, I think was a big piece for me. So I've been trying to create more content that serves, you know, people in the Latin American countries or
that's awesome.
Family and things like that. Yeah, so it's like I'll translate some of my stuff, or I've done like a worship song that I really liked in English, but I was like, man, I feel like in Spanish this would be so powerful, and so I was able to cover it, which was Make Room. I don't know if you guys have heard Make Room, but I didn't.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's been really cool. It's been a really fun experience to kind of like journey into that space.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of worship, are you plugged in at a church locally? Like, do you lead worship also, or is that completely separate from your artistry?
I have my home church here in Orlando. It's called Journey, and I love them. They've been really supportive of like allowing me to do what I do, but also inviting me in to come in maybe once a month and lead at the church and
Nice.
have some form of community with like the worship team. And so it's been really new, because this is like, it's not anything that I've done before. But it's been a new kind of thing that I've been doing, that you would think, since I do music, like in Aisha, I feel like you would understand too. It's like in the CCM space, doing a show and going in and doing your music is way different than leading a church into worship.
Oh, absolutely.
So I was like intimidated at first to be like, okay, like how this is a whole system. Like, how do you guys flow, and how do you like learn all these songs in time? And so it's been so awesome to just like learn and study and come alongside these people at church that are so good at what they do. So I really enjoyed learning more about like the worship side of like church.
That's cool.
Aisha, you can relate to that, right?
Yes. It's been a little minute. I'm actually plugged in at a church here in Lake County, and I've led worship here for almost 5 years, and I'll still go out and do things, but you're right. Leading worship it's completely different. You know, I don't do my songs here at the church. It's just weird, you know?
It was
just weird.
very weird.
I think it would be for a worship artist that specializes in worship music. I think it would be more appropriate for them to have some of their songs in the worship set, as long as they're not out there on the stage saying, "This is a song I wrote about," because you know, they're kind of gloating. They're kind of like, "Hey, everybody, look at me! Look at the song I wrote." And I've seen worship artists do that once in a while. Maybe not as you know, as recent these days.
Right.
But you're right. I mean, you know, for you to have a different style, that would be a big learning curve, I suppose, Blanca, for you, with just the style of music that you record. I would think that for some artists, they would want to go to church and just unplug a little bit, versus getting too involved in the music side of things and then getting too busy doing that.
Yeah, I think that's it's a good balance, because there is times where I'm like, you know, they work hard, you know, being on the worship team, and it's a commitment, and you don't really like, they really try to enforce a culture where like we come out to one of the services and we get to watch the message or sit with our family, and that's helpful. But for the most part, it's like there are times where you just want to come and unplug and, you know, fill up and receive, and not necessarily serve. But there is something beautiful about serving at your local church and being able to find community in a different way, where I wasn't getting that when I was just showing up and slipping, you know, into the back seat and leaving right after. It's like, there's something really awesome about getting to meet people in a deeper level at church and having that sort of community.
We got to listen before you go. I'm serious about getting together. It makes no sense that we're both in the same metroplex, and so please, I'm gonna shoot you a DM on IG, and let's connect, please.
Let's do it. I'm so down for that.
Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys. It was fun talking to you.
Thanks, Blanca.
Yeah, you too.
Right.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Wow, Blanca on Between the Grooves. That was a great chat.
Yeah, it really was. I'll have to remember to utilize my secret weapon, joy.
It shouldn't be secret, though. It shouldn't be secret. It should be, we should all have it, right? Hey, before we go, let's get some artist advice. Here's Natasha Zimbero.
This is going to sound really cliche, but it is never give up and look to God to make your decisions. Don't look within yourself to figure it all out.
That's good advice.
It is. I got a chance to sit with her for a few minutes at the recent Covenant Awards, and she is the real deal. So, you know, quite frankly, it's not just it's not all about the career, you know. It's about the relationship, and so I really appreciated that coming from her.
Yeah, it's great, and for the fact that she mentioned the importance of having community and counsel. Like you can't, no man's an island, really. Having wise counsel and people you can bounce things off of is so important in not only in the industry, but in life as a whole. So I appreciate that.
Well, that is it for this week. Thank you for checking out Between the Grooves, and there's lots more for you wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for listening to Faith Strong Today's Between the Grooves podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider sharing it with your friends, rating our podcast, or giving us some love on your socials to your amazing friends and followers will only help us reach more people. We'd also love to hear from you and share your feedback in an upcoming episode. Send your video or written message to Aisha and James on Facebook or X at Between Grooves and on Instagram at Between Grooves Pod. Or email us anytime, hello@faithstrongtoday.com.